So, in the last class, we ended somewhere and we tried to begin base and superstructure. So, let us begin with base and superstructure. In last class, we talked about dialectics, we talked about dialectical materialism of Marx, and then we just ended before entering into this topic of Marxism that is called base and superstructure. So, I hope you can see the slide. So,
Yes, sir.
okay. So look, there is a house-like structure, and which we call beat, body beat, that is the base, and the upper one, that is the structure of the house, that is called the superstructure. And Marx took the concept of a society almost like this. And according to Marx, there are two things in the society: the basic things and the superstructure things. So, what are the basic things? What is the concept of the basics according to Marx? So, according to Marx, man's first historical act is the production of means to satisfy his material needs. So, think about this. So, Marx is considering that human beings are essentially concerned with material needs. And look at the second line: the production of life through both labor and procreation is both natural and social. So there are two parts. Whenever you come with this type of things, it doesn't only become a literary theory. The initial thing and the interesting thing about these type of theories are they are related to your economics, they are related to your society, they are related to your biological life, as well as what we study, the reflection of these theories in our literature. So, while Marx is considering the basic of the society, look at the paradigms. The first thing that you need to understand that material needs. Marx thinks that essentially human beings are concerned about these material needs, and look at the paradox, or look at the interesting thing in this. Man's first historical act is not the production of material needs or the production of things to satisfy his material needs. No, but the production of means to satisfy his material needs. So that is the very interesting thing regarding this. Okay, like if you think that you need food or you need any kind of service, you need clothes, these are the material needs. Okay, but according to Marx, the first historical act is not the production of the food or the production of the clothes, but determining the means, that is the way how to produce. That is, the historical act is agriculture or the historical act is industry, not the production, but the means of production. Okay, so according to Marx, the main concern becomes the procedure of production, whether it is agriculture or it is industry, anything but the means. Okay, like when you are creating a kind of intellectual work, that is also a kind of production when you are writing something. So for Marx, the result obviously was important, but the more important thing was the procedure in which the thought process, the physical labor, the mental labor, the searching process, the research would work. That is the means of producing your paper. Okay. I think এই পোর্শনটা বুঝেছিস, you have understood all three.
Yes, sir.
So think
Yes, 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 sir.
this is important to Marx. And next, the next thing, the production of life through both labor and procreation is both natural and social. So, like, look at this, the production of life, you know, what does it mean? The relationship between man and woman, and as a result, giving birth of a child. So, according to him, giving birth of a child also involves labor. Maybe it involves emotion, but also it involves labor and procreation. Why procreation? Because we human beings, just like any other animals, do not arbitrarily do sexual relationship and give birth to it. Do we? No. We take certain decisions, certain considerations before marrying a woman or before marrying a man. Maybe at certain stages of society, there are so many things. Maybe at certain stages of society, there are so many considerations. Sometimes the women's were oppressed, sometimes the men's were oppressed. But look at the thing. At least there was a consideration that whom I am going to marry. That is, it is not a very arbitrary thing. Marx says that it is just not just like the dogs and the other animals. You get someone in front of you and just you have sex with that and give birth to some baby and you are hell concerned about them. No, human beings are not like that. So the production of life also in a society, it is both natural. That means the process is natural, but the process is also social in that way, because we have some social considerations before involving into the process of creation. So according to Marx, the procedure of giving birth to a human child is not only natural process, it is also a social process, and it does not only involve labor but also procreation. So keeping these things in mind, Marx says that there are two types of basic things. There are so many types of basic things like food, like if you go to the previous slide, you will understand, like machines, factory, land, raw materials, that is, which are involved with production of clothing, production of foods, production of our basic needs, medicines. Okay, so these are the base. And for this, the means of productions are tools, machines, factories, land, raw materials, you know. So these are the things needed. And out of this, certain production relations occur, like lumpen proletariat, labor aristocracy, petty bourgeoisie, private property, capital, commodities. So according to Marx, these are just relationships. Like, you know, who are the lumpens? Uneducated people, uncouth people, very much close to animals. Who are the proletariats? The commoners, at least with some civic sense, but the oppressed class of people. These are relations. Why these are relations? You know, like when you call me a teacher, what is the concept of teacher? Is it only hierarchy? It is a relation of production of service. You call me teacher because I teach you. You call someone a grocer because he gives you grocery things. You call someone a nurse because that very woman or man nurse provide you with nursing. You call someone a doctor because you get the medicinal help from that man or that woman. So the thing is that these are relations of production according to Marx. These social hierarchies are nothing but relations of production. And according to Marx, the basic relations of productions are like lumpen proletariat, proletariat, labor aristocracy. So labor, who are the laborers? Those who work in the factories. And who are the aristocracy? Those who pay for it. Petty bourgeois, who are the petty bourgeois and bourgeois? Like, those are almost same things. Those people who really, mm, I would say, I would not say that the aristocrats are not bourgeois or like, but for me, or rather, if I have understood Marx, there are some people who are not the proletariats, but also they are like the upper middle class people. These people, they think about the proletariats, but they live like the aristocrats, or at least they always try to live like the aristocrats. Like, think about us, you or we, whatever we do, we say so many things about that should be done, this should be done, but by the next day, I get some money, I think about installing an AC in my house, I think about buying a car. Rakesh will think about buying something from for his health purpose. So these are the things. Bikram will try to strengthen his business. Tompika will try to do something like whatever your choices are. You can buy books, you can buy dresses, whatever. You can invest in some business. But do any of us think about giving our money for the poor people? Yeah, we do something like charity. Because if we earn 50,000, you give 1,000 to a man, and you expect that your name will be focused in newspaper. So these are our expectations, but we do not really think about the labor class people, the proletariats. So according to me, these are the bourgeois. And then there are other relationships. These are human hierarchy, and then there are a property hierarchy, like private property, capital, commodities. What are these? These are properties, but in term of relation. What is a capital? A capital is pure investment. What is a private property? A property which have only a specific people's control over it. So these terms are always relationship terms. Economical terms they are, but they are relationship terms. So the economics কারোর মানে in HS level, if you people had studied with economics, then it would have been easier to understand this. But however, I am trying. So these are the basic things, like food, raw material, clothes, uh, like creating some jobs. These are the basic needs. But when these things are saturated, when these things are done, when these things are afforded, man thinks about superstructure. So what are the superstructure? When you have, like, there are some repressive superstructure, there are some ideological superstructure. Superstructure are those about which only when you have the basic needs fulfilled, you think about. When you have clothing, when you have food, when you have shelter, then you think about property, or at least when you have some property, then you start thinking about your security, your education, your pastime, your religion, your relationships. Then you think about it. According to Marx, these are the superstructures in a society. Okay, I do not say, or Marx never say that these does not generate any kind of employment. No, but Marx say that the basic employment are generated from the base portions of the society. Like, you still can say there are so many teachers, but the laborers working in factory are much more than that, and those people working in the field are much more than that. So always the base is the main or primary source of economic relationship in a society. And when these are fulfilled, the superstructure, people think about superstructure, like literature, like schooling, like education, like religion. When you do not have food, will you think about going to the church? No, you will think about going to the field or going to the factory and earn something. And there is something like I think you do not have to make. I do not need to explain it so much. Like ideological superstructure. When we think about these things with certain kind of ideologies, with certain kind of elevated understanding, elevated thoughts, which obviously are a kind of, I would say, aristocracy. When you have the basic needs, then you can afford the aristocracy of thinking about the superficial things, thinking about the sublime, thinking about the elevated things. And then you think about your relationships, then comes family, then you think about religion, then you think about education, media, your movie, your literature. All these are ideological. Your art, your architecture, your philosophy. And there are certain repressive structure. These repressive structures are obviously burdened. We are burdened with these repressive structures by the controller of the society. Okay, by the controllers of the society. And what are they? Like the police for the basic security. I do not say that we do not have the need for the police, but the police is a very interesting. The police takes a very interesting stand in the socio-economic or socio-politic structure. Like the basic human beings, the commoners, they need a security to protect their private property, and obviously the administration need the police to make the people civilized and abiding the laws, rules, and regulations. So police is a very interesting stand. The police have a very interesting stand. It is needed by both the commoners as well as the rulers. So in a repressive structure, although the police is a device from the administration to possess control over us, to show control over us, it is also our need. Same is army in a larger case. একটু widely যদি ভাবো, army নিডটাও সেরকম. We need people to protect our border. That is also our need. And also army can be used to suppress the civic movements. So while I am satisfied that the army is guarding us in the border from the enemies outside, I am also aware that the same army can be used in order to suppress any kind of civic movement made by me, any kind of civic revolt made by me. So the repressive structures are very interesting in that sense. We have the need of these repressions. On the other hand, this can be used against us as well. Then think about the legal system. Same thing. If I need legal security in this kind of, in our complex structure of the society, each and every day, I'm aware that I need certain kind of legal security. That's why I have constitution, I have laws, I have so many things. Whenever my rights are somehow threatened, I take help of the police as well as the legal system. On the other hand, if I commit a crime, the same legal system becomes oppressive towards me, become repressive towards me. So therefore, the legal system is both for to make me control my activities as well as to make me enjoy all the rights allowed to me. Then again, there is the word allowed. Allowed is a same kind of repressive term that is against my freedom. I am not allowed to do everything. Okay, freedom comes with a cost. Freedom comes with a kind of burden, and the world. Freedom is not about freedom. Freedom is more about limitations. Whenever the term comes, you have to understand that the freedom suggests that I have freedom within this limit, not outside that. So these are the repressive structure, these are the ideological structure. Okay, একটু চারজন বল রিপ্রেসিভ স্ট্রাকচারটাকে বুঝেছিস মার্ক্সের ভাষায় যেটাকে সুপারস্ট্রাকচারের পার্ট বলছে? Have you
Yes,
understood?
sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, I think it is interesting. একটু ইন্টারেস্টিং ও লেগেছে বোধহয় রিপ্রেসিভ স্ট্রাকচারটা। It's a very interesting thing.
Yes.
আমার খুব ভালো লাগে। Okay, so go to the next thing. So now Marx speaks about the division of labor. Marx analyzes state, class, and ideology in terms of the history of division of labor. So like in the last class, I had told that Marx said that from kingship, we went to feudalism. From feudalism, we went to capitalism. Capitalism has given rise to socialism. But according to Marx, in each and every step, or in each and every stage of the step, there are certain class division, there are certain ideological terms, and ultimately the history speaks about certain division of labor. If we study the division of labor, we can understand the society as well. Like at the very beginning, there are the kings and the subjects and the slaves. So these are the three stages. In the next, we have the kings, the czars, the feudal lords, then the middlemen, then the slaves or the commoners. So if you study them, you can understand the more complex class of society. Then in the capitalistic society, we have the bourgeoisie, or rather we have the capitalists and we have the laborers. In the next class, in communism or in socialistic society, we have a society where the division of labor is equal. So we do not have the other class divisions. There are the administrations and there are the state laborers. Each and every one is a state labor having equal right to the property. That is the basic things of socialism. So if you study this labor structure, you can analyze the state, class, and ideology. Marx analyzes state, class, ideology in terms of this division of labor. He argues that division of labor is an index of extent to which production has been developed. And according to him, how much or how the production is being developed, how much the production is being developed can be analyzed from these studies of labor division. This also leads to the separation of industrial and commercial labor from agricultural labor, hence suggesting a conflict of interest between town and country. So Marx, when Marx thinks about labor, Marx says that there are basic difference between industrial and agricultural labor. Like in a village or in a rustic economy, in a rural economy, what happens? Uh, there are certain people with huge amount of land, but also there are certain people who have their own land and they give labor for them. There are kind of like cooperatives, land cooperatives. There are large land slots, there are small land slots. So these labors are divided according to that, and the hierarchy is very much limited. They do not have so many layers, you know. On the other hand, in industrial and commercial labor, there are so many hierarchies. Even the labors are divided, like technical labors, non-technical labors, skilled labors, unskilled labors. Then there are the division according to their skills. There are payment according to their skills. Then some have to give physical labor, some have to give mental labor. So these are the differences between the town and the country according to Marx. Okay, and these also affects in separation of individual and community interest. And obviously, Marx is very specific about that separation of individual and community interest. If you think about labor division, or if you think about all these kind of things, you will find that the labor or the output, it have two type of things. Like when you do something, suppose you have been in a job. So any of you have been in a job. You have to do labor. Against that, you are being paid. And what you are doing, you are buying things out of that. And in every single transaction, you are paying a kind of tax. Or whenever you are buying, you are paying someone. And then that very someone is buying another thing, he's paying the tax. So therefore, with your money, you are not only doing your individual interest, but you are also contributing in community interest. Okay, so this is Marx's division of labor. Next, consequences of social division of labor. According to Marx, essentially, the distribution of labor is unequal. And as a result of that, it creates private property. When everything is equally distributed, each and everyone has the same share. Obviously, it needs to be the property of the state. If you are given the chance to make personal properties, then you will create distribution of labor, because you will find that I have some, or I could rather live a better life. Therefore, unequal distribution of labor or this will create a kind of private property, because then you understand that I can do better. Okay, so I can separate this thing for myself. I can separate this thing for me. Okay, and then the division of labor implying a contradiction between individual or family and community interest. The latter assumes an independent form of the state. So the division of labor implying a contradiction between individual and family and community interest. So when there is the contradiction between individual or family and community interest, obviously the community interest ultimately contribute in creation of a state. That is, for creation of a state, you need this community interest. Alienation of labor or social activity. Man's own deeds become an alien power opposed to him, and the social power appears to him as an alien force existing outside them. Demand supply means man's own deed is regulated by external force that is fed. So, this is a very interesting thing. Man's own deeds become an alien power opposed to him. Like, you know, when you are in a kind of job, when you are getting your salary, then suddenly you find that whatever you were doing a kind of slavery. You were doing against your will, because you are getting the salary you have to do. A kind of compliance rather than wish, it comes into the mind. And now the labor becomes an alien power. Man's own deeds become an alien power. And the social power appears to him as an alien force existing outside them. So, what is the social power? That you have to have your job, then you have to have your money, otherwise, you cannot procure your things, you cannot run your family. So, these are the social powers. And it is an outside pressure. And the demand and supply of the things are being regulated by trade. Okay. Hello. Am I being audible?
Yes, sir. Now you are
Yes,
audible,
sir.
sir.
Okay,
आपका सर
so
वीडियो
yes,
रुक गया था थोड़ी देर के लिए.
acha.
Uh,
Okay, so where was I? How much did you listen to? Tell me. Social division of labor. Did you listen to this part? Hello.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So
Yes,
now,
some part.
yes, on part. Okay. So now let us do from this one. Marx on state. So with all these things in background, Marx said that the communal life is practically an illusory thing. Why it's an illusory thing? Because there are so many things that you cannot just understand, that you cannot, or rather, rather the communal life or the community life, whatever you think it is, uh, whatever it seems from the surface, is not like that. The working of it is very much integral. That involves division of labor, that involves things like base and superstructure. It's a very complex thing. And it is based especially on classes, one dominating over other. Okay. And all struggles within the state are disguised versions of class struggle. So whatever struggle you see, whatever community struggle you see, these are regularly, these are, according to Marx, these are termed as class struggle. That there is no struggle of an individual. When someone is fighting with poverty, that is not only his fight, that is the fight of people like him. Okay, even you look at this now, how true he is. Even in this situation of pandemic, the patients are struggling to find a bed in the hospital. But can you say that this is only a struggle of an individual patient? No, Chetan, no. Whenever you read the newspaper, you can say you can just you can find the term being used is patient party, or rather rogi ra. So always it is being pluralized because they have been identified as a class. When you refer to a doctor, you do not refer to a doctor as an individual. When you refer to a hospital, an oppressive hospitalization system, you refer to the system running all over the state as well. So, whenever we refer to a struggle, we refer to it as a class struggle. So, this is what Marx had to say on state. And now, Marx's notion of ideology. So, what kind of ideology Marx say is involved in the society? The ruling class represents its own interest and the interest of the people as a whole. The modern state, as Marx says, is but a committee of managing the common affairs of the whole bourgeoisie. So, in a state, the ruling class decides what would happen to them as well as what would happen to the people. The ruling class in a democracy, they are elected individuals and therefore they are the harta of deciding our fate, and therefore they are almost like a committee of managing the common affairs of the whole bourgeoisie in the name of managing the affairs of the commoners. Commoners affairs নামে যেটা ultimately হবে that will affect the capitalist. Marx observes that the class which is struggling must gain political power in order to represent its interest as a general interest. And that's why Marx says that socialism is needed, because these commoners are continuously oppressed. Therefore, they should be given the power. Okay, there are so many questions, whether they have political, whether they have educational, whether they have experience for running a state. There are so many critical questions. I will come into these later when we will be speaking about the communist thinkers. and how they have shown that Marx ideologies could be applied in the society. But Marx observed that power should be given to the communists. And Marx views developing the distinction between use value and the exchange value, Marx arrived at the notion of surplus value, whereby labor power as embodied in products is incompletely compensated. Okay, one thing I am doing, I am just ending this video here, okay? And I am giving you a next link for another session, okay?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, because I have to take something more today. I am ending this here, okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Within a minute, you are going to get another link.
माने की समझे ही हमरे भाई